Hey guys, I want to welcome you back to another episode of Pistons Talk Podcast post-game show. If you are brand new here, what we do is we go over some quarter notes, some key points of the game. I will break those down. We'll go over the box score and the team stats. And then we'll open up the show to comments, questions, overall thoughts with this game. If you have any questions you want answered during the Q&A section of this podcast, definitely leave them down below in the live chat if you're watching on YouTube right now. But let's get into today's post-game show. Well, the Pistons were playing the Boston Celtics in an in-season tournament game. That's why you saw the ugly courts tonight if you watched the game. I'm still not a fan of the in-season tournament courts. They're weird. Boston's jersey are probably one of the most normal in-season tournament jerseys I've seen. So it was an in-season tournament game. Pistons were coming in 13 straight wins, tied a franchise record. They were trying to make history of winning 14 straight. Obviously, that didn't happen tonight. But to kind of get into the first quarter, the Pistons came out as the aggressors. The Celtics tried to blitz Cade Cunningham. I think that was just kind of the strategy tonight, and you saw it throughout the game. Pistons kind of go on a little run there in the first. They were up 20-13 at one point after they went on a kind of like a 10-0 run there, and pushed. The Pistons were looking to push the pace. They were looking for running opportunities in transition, and you saw that very early on. The Celtics just weren't really ready for the physicality in the first quarter. I mean, you saw Isaiah Stewart crashing the glass. Jalen Duren was out there. And Kate had 11 in this first quarter. And Pistons had a 6-point lead, believe it or not, to end the first quarter. So you come out aggressive. You win another first quarter, which I think is a good sign. Even during the winning streak, we weren't really winning a whole lot of quarters. Going into the second quarter, Stu picked up his third foul, which I thought was pretty crucial for the way that he was playing towards the end of the first quarter. The Celtics really didn't have just an answer for his physicality very early on. But, not having Stu out there, I was kind of surprised we didn't see Paul Reed. We haven't seen Paul Reed in the past couple of games just because Stu is back. Duren's your starter. I would have liked to see, Paul Reed in this one. Kind of gives you a different dynamic, in my opinion. But, the Celtics went on a 15-4 run in 3 minutes. They were scoring. And this is a team that, hoists a lot of threes, makes a lot of threes. And I don't really think the Pistons were really ready for that. Pistons did end that 15-4 run. They started making defensive stops, meaning Jaylen Brown hit at the rim. He complained a whole lot because he wasn't getting, free throw calls. Obviously, the Pistons are a very physical team. I don't really think he's used to that type of physicality. He was just really crying for free throws in the first half. It did kind of get him going a little bit, was getting in isolations, just kind of, getting to his spots. And to kind of end the second quarter, started to hit a buzzer beater. And shit looked clean. So the Pistons do kind of end the second quarter going into halftime with a 1-point lead, 58-57. But Boston came up very aggressive. They were hitting threes like crazy. Pistons just did not do a very good job of just closing out on the perimeter and running them off the 3-point line. They couldn't get anything going in the half court. Cade did everything in his willpower tonight, especially in the third quarter, making defensive stops, jumping for loose balls, making threes, getting to the lane. And the Celtics were in the penalty in the third, which I thought the Pistons were going to attack them more. Given a foul, you go to the free throw line when a team's in the penalty. They get back within 3 to end the third quarter, 86-83. Celtics, got the lead up, and the Pistons tried to fight back. They went on a little 12-3 run there. And it was just back and forth between, Derek White hitting threes. Tobias Harris hit a very clutch three. There's a Karis LeVert three, which I'm sure we'll talk about Karis LeVert on this post-game show because I see a lot of fans crashing out about him tonight, which completely understand. But it was a 111 to 110. Pistons inbound the ball. They lose the ball. And you're probably thinking the game's over. We kind of go into the back and forth of, there's less than 30 seconds in the game. Got to get the ball do free throws. So, Derek White goes to the free throw line. He makes his free throws. They foul Cade, or I believe they fouled Duran first. He made two of his free throws. And then we got the ball coming up the court with about 6 seconds. Cade gets fouled for an opportunity to tie the game. He makes 2 out of 3 free throws, and the Pistons couldn't force this one in the overtime. It was 117 to 114. The Pistons' first loss since October 27th versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. So you won 13 straight games, gave yourself a pretty big, cushion as the number 1 seed in the East. And again, like I told you guys all month, that the November schedule was a schedule where I thought, you could give yourself some leeway. I thought that, they had an opportunity to go on a little streak. I didn't know it was going to be 13 games. Really proud of this team, obviously, during this win streak, but we are going to focus on today's game. We're going to get into the box score and then the team stats, and we'll open up the show to comments and questions. So, I know it's a part of the podcast that I know a lot of audio listeners do appreciate. I know you guys are watching live on YouTube. Audio listeners usually don't come on these live post-game podcasts. That just listen on Spotify or Apple, but kind of getting into the box score. Tobias Harris in 27 minutes tonight had 12 points, 4 out of 8 from the field, 1 out of 5 from 3. 3 out of 3 from the free throw line, grabbed 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks, and he was a +0 in this one. So, he was just kind of doing his thing out there. Duncan Robinson, 30 minutes played, 11 points, 4 out of 9 from 3, or 4 out of 9 from the field, 3 out of 8 from 3, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 block shot. He was a +9. I saw a lot of fans kind of complain, why was Duncan Robinson out there? Why wasn't Asar out there? It's kind of a trade-off, right? Obviously, you want Asar out there for defense. Asar was mostly on Jaylen Brown. I've seen some, people mention, why wasn't he on Derek White? I'm not really sure why he wasn't switched on to Derek White, because he was kind of one of the players that just had the hot hand tonight. But Duncan was out there for his perimeter spacing. He's the only player right now on this roster that does provide consistent three-point shooting. So that's why Duncan did get those 30 minutes tonight. Jalen Duren also in 30 minutes had 12 points, 4 out of 10 from the field, 4 out of 6 from the free throw line, 16 rebounds. He had 3 turnovers in this one, 6 offensive rebounds, and +6. I really thought this was a game where Jalen Duren could have dominated, given if you look at the Boston Celtics front court, like Luka Garza, Josh, I think it's Minot, like Jalen Duren should have feasted tonight. I know he did get hacked like a mofo in this one. There were multiple plays where I thought he should have got to the free throw line, but I was kind of surprised that he wasn't a little bit more aggressive in this one. Obviously, having a double-double, 12 and 16 is still very impressive. But I thought this was a game where JD should have at least had 20 points, just given the matchup. Cade Cunningham in this one, he did his thing, man. 36 minutes, had 42 points, 12 out of 26 from the field, 4 to 9 from 3. Got to the free throw line quite a bit, 14 out of 16 from the free throw line. Obviously, he did miss the game-tying free throw. Could have forced it in the overtime possibly, but he still had a really good game. 8 rebounds as well, 5 assists. 4 turnovers. The way the Celtics were blitzing, I'm not really too surprised he did have 4 turnovers in this one tonight. But overall, I think K did his best just to keep this game close. Sir Thompson had 26 minutes in this one. He had 8 points. He was 2 out of 8 from the field, 1 out of 2 from 3, 3 out of 4 from the free throw line, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, and he was a +1. Kind of getting to the bench unit. Isaiah Stewart in 20 minutes. He had 6 points, 3 out of 7 from the field, 9 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block. Who's a -4 in this one with the +-. Ryan Holland, 14 minutes, 6 points, 3 out of 6 from the field, 0 out of 2 from 3, 1 rebound, 1 assist, 2 steals. One thing I want to say about Ryan Holland, even though he was a -11 tonight in the +-, this was the first game where, his shot was starting to fall. Now, 6 points is nothing to come up here and praise, but we've been talking about Ron Holland and kind of the sophomore slump that he is in. It was good to see him, be confident and find his shot. He had a crazy layup and he kind of like landed on his ass, I believe in the second quarter, but it was good to see him, score the basketball a little bit more. He got 14 minutes in this one. Javonte Green had 10 minutes, 0 out of 2 from the field, 1 rebound, 1 block. I guess they credited him with the block, not a star with the block. They had like a double block, but I guess he got it. Only 10 minutes. I think JB right now is kind of struggling with the rotation, especially with Javonte Green, Ryan Holland, Karis LeVert. Like I think he's just trying to find a new combination, and Javonte Green has kind of seen his role reduce quite a bit since Karis has come back from injury, and he's not on a minute restriction anymore. Speaking of Karis, in 24 minutes, he had 10 points, 3 out of 8 from the field, 2 out of 4 from three, 2 out of 2 from the free throw line, had 3 rebounds, 3 assists. And it was a -5 in this one off the bench. Jaden Ivey, again, he's still a minute restriction, 15 minutes, 7 points, 2 out of 9 from the field, 0 out of 5 from three, 3 out of 3 from the free throw line, 4 rebounds, 1 turnover, 1 steal. His 3-point shot wasn't falling tonight, but I think if you watch the game, a lot of those shots, it was just good process. Like he was pretty much left wide open. The shot just wasn't falling. Towards the end of his minutes, he did put the ball on the floor, kind of got a 3-point play out of it. But I mean, Jaden Ivey's just kind of doing his thing in a limited role right now on a minute restriction. I think his minute restriction's around like 12 to 15 minutes a game. Don't know how long the minute restriction is going to last. Could be next couple of weeks because the Pistons want to be pretty precautious with him just kind of getting back in the basketball shape. And JB had mentioned, getting in basketball shape. Only way you do it is actually, play games. So in 3 games so far in a limited role, I thought he's done pretty well. This is probably his worst shooting night that he's had so far. But I expect him to bounce back against Orlando. Deandris Jenkins in this one, 8 minutes, didn't really do anything, had 1 assist. It's probably kind of hard to adjust on the fly when you're getting high 30s, high 20s, and now you're barely getting 10 minutes a night. Next to Cade Cunningham, there's situations where he was backing up Cade Cunningham for a couple of minutes, but he really didn't do anything. And of course, Paul Reed didn't play. Like I mentioned, would have liked to see him out there. He didn't get any clock, and obviously Chaz Linear didn't get any clock in this one as well. We're going to go over to the team stats and just this whole game, and I highlighted it for you guys if you didn't get an opportunity to watch it. The reason why the Boston Celtics were able to come away with the victory tonight. Look at the 3-pointers. So they attempted 43 threes and they made 20. Anytime a team can make 23s, it's going to be really difficult to beat them. And the Celtics only had a 3-point victory. Now, they're a team that they're one of, I think they're top 3 in the league in just 3-point attempts. Derek White was murdered tonight. Jaylen Brown hit a couple. Peyton Pritchard, 6th man of the year. Like, that's what he does. They're a very good 3-point shooting team. And compared to the Pistons, as you guys can see, the Pistons attempted 36 threes, but only made 11. So, when you're shooting 31% from 3 versus 47, that is a big discrepancy in percentages. Obviously, the Pistons did get to the free throw line tonight. They made 81% of their free throws. They got there 36 times. So, that's something that was very encouraging to see them getting to the free throw line. They out-rebounded the Celtics 56-44. Had 21 offensive rebounds in this one and still found a way to lose this game. And I'm sure Joe Mazzulla probably told his guys like how difficult that is to get out-rebounded and still come away with a victory. Only 20 assists by the Pistons tonight. Both teams had 13 turnovers. There was just complete chaos in the open court for both teams. But this game went down to the wire. This was definitely a cardiac kids type of game. I do want to open up the show to comments and questions. We're just going to take a quick break. I'm going to have a sip of water because my throat is a little dry for talking for almost 15 minutes nonstop. But we will be right back after a quick break, you guys. Okay, you guys, we are back. Appreciate you staying with us during that quick commercial break. So, what we are going to get into now is probably my favorite part of the podcast, Q&A. So, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, maybe a rotation question, a question about the upcoming games this week with the Magic on Friday, and then the Miami Heat the end of the week on Saturday. The floor is yours. If you're watching live on YouTube, make sure to drop a comment in there. And if you don't mind, definitely hit that like button if you do like the podcast that we are providing you guys every post game show, and just kind of having this as an open forum for you guys. So Piston Fan 11 does get the first comment of tonight's show. So let's see what it says. He said, "Why don't the Pistons use Asar Thompson on Jaylen Brown? I think it would be great for us defensively for his development to lock as a lockdown defender. I believe in Asar. Um, I think Asar's minutes tonight, obviously, played in the high 20s. He was matched up quite a bit on Jaylen Brown at times. I did see him switch a little bit, but it was more on like recoveries with Derek White. He wasn't primarily on Derek White every possession. I think with his role defensively, he is supposed to take on the best player every given night, and he does. Tonight, I think the scouting report for Asar was to focus on Jaylen Brown, but any given night, the Celtics could have Derek White go off for 30 or Peyton Pritchard go off for 30. That just kind of shows you just how deep they are, even without Jason Tatum. But we all know Derek White can fill it up in any given night. I think just the way that they were using him defensively, I mean, that's what they'll do on most nights. Like when we play the Magic, Asar is probably going to be matched up on Franz Wagner. Don't know if Paulo will be back by Friday, but given he's not, Asar will be matched up on Franz. And when we play Miami, he'll probably be matched up on Tyler Hero. That's just how JB does use him. Now, I do see a comment about Jaden Ivey, and I know I haven't said that I'm going to be talking about trades, but I see this comment and I just don't agree with it. Saying Ivy is a goofy mess. They need to trade for a legit scoring two guard star. Okay, I don't agree that Ivy is a goofy mess. He's coming off a knee procedure, didn't play regular season basketball since January of last year. I get the frustration with Pistons fans right now wanting that second option, wanting that secondary star. I'm just going to say this. You are not going to get fair value for Jaden Ivey right now. You're just not. If we're just talking about value with our players that probably would get you the most in a trade, it's Cade Cunningham, and you're not going to trade Cade Cunningham. It's Asar Thompson. You're not going to trade Asar Thompson. He's your best defender. Jalen Duren would probably get you something, but that's the core piece you want to build with. Jaden Ivey's trade value is at an all-time low. Teams are not going to offer you fair value for Jaden Ivey. You're not going to get a legitimate star two guard, a scoring 20 point per game guard right now. He just came off a serious injury. He is on a minute restriction. The trade talk and the we need a number two option or a secondary star, to me, I never really understood from Pistons fans, because this isn't really a franchise that has ever really had a big three. They've drafted players that have turned into a big three, like with the bad boys when you drafted Isaiah Thomas, Joe Dumars, Dennis Rodman. Like, you drafted players that turned into that. This has never been an organization outside of the Rasheed Wallace trade that has like really said, let's go get a freaking superstar. Let's go, put all our chips in for a number two option. I get Pistons fans are frustrated. They're frustrated with Cade Cunningham not really having a true quote unquote number two option. But just to trade Ivy because you're frustrated, I just think is foolish. It really is. But want to get back to more comments and questions. I do see Red Baron drop a comment. Is there such thing as a good loss? Figuring out who we can depend on in games like this should be Cade's number one priority right now. He was gassed and needed someone else to step up. I think it's a good opportunity for not only Cade, but JB as well, because I don't think JB can continue to have a 12-man rotation. I just don't. This team has a lot of playmakers. This team has a lot of versatile players, but I think JB is going to have to go to a 10-man rotation. I don't really think you can actively try to play 12 guys. There's just not enough minutes to go around. Some people's roles will get massively reduced. But I think it's a learning opportunity not only for Cade to kind of, grow that synergy with someone else. And, the number two option this year has been Jalen Duren. Jalen Duren has been that number two option. Jalen Duren's been averaging, around 20 points a game this season. He's been that number two, right? And he only had 12 points tonight. And then you have nights where, Tobias Harris last game dropped 18 points. Um, uh, when he was kind of doing his thing. And, Karis LeVert dropped 19 points. So I think the Pistons are still trying to figure out who can be that consistent number two. Tonight wasn't Jalen Duren's best night offensively. It just wasn't. I mean, 12 points, I think you're going to have to at least give us a good 15 on a nightly basis, that especially against a team that was pretty weak in the front court and they just kind of pack the paint. I think you're going to start seeing more teams do that. You're going to see a lot of teams game plan for the Pistons, and the way to do that is just put 3-4 bodies in there and make it difficult, and hopefully the officials don't call a foul on you. And that's kind of what happened tonight, where the Celtics were packing the paint, they were scratching, they were clawing, trying to get the ball out of Jalen Duren's hands, and it worked. Like, that's a game plan. Like, Cleveland did the same thing when we played them at home last month. So I think you're going to start seeing more teams kind of having that strategy against the Pistons, because they're one of the teams in the NBA that just they like playing in the paint. They lead the NBA in paint points. So I think the number two option thing for right now, it's Cade and JD. Don't know if Ivy will ever kind of like slot into that number two option. Maybe Tobias is kind of like a, 1A to 1B with Jalen Duren right now, but this team doesn't really have a true number two. And I know that's such a talking point on Pistons Twitter of just putting all our chips in and trading for a true number two. But I think I would just rather let this core develop and grow. I'm not really about like making a huge trade just so Cade has a number two option next to him. Detroit Red, do you think Cade is playing too much in the third quarter? Last couple of games, JB is keeping in for majority of the third. Why not give Jenkins more of a run? I do think he is playing Cade pretty high minutes. Cade did look a little bit gassed towards the end of the fourth quarter. And I don't know if it's by design. I don't know if it's just a rotation thing with JB right now, where he's just so reliant on Cade to play a good like 10 minutes in the third, and maybe he's resting in the fourth for a couple of minutes. Why not give Jenkins more of a run? I'm not entirely sure. I think you've started to see his role diminish with Karis being healthy and Jaden Ivey coming back again. Like, it's going to be a difficult decision for him, because I don't think you can continue to try to play 12, 13 guys every night. There's just not enough minutes to go around, and someone's role is going to get reduced, in my opinion. I don't really think you can continue to play as many guys as we have. And that's up to him, man. That's a coaching thing, and I don't envy him at all, because those are very difficult decisions to make. Nights like tonight, Andis didn't really do anything in 8 minutes, didn't score, had one rebound. And it's probably hard for him to readjust from, damn near, getting 30 minutes tonight to barely 10 minutes tonight, right? So that's a learning and an adjustment period with him as well. So just kind of have to keep an eye on like what his role may be with the Pistons. Ryan, no offensive creation. They're not setting each other up. And I think that's something that, during games you see quite a bit, especially in the half court. You see a lot of situations where the Pistons aren't really, passing the ball. It's not moving side to side. There's a lot of isolations, just kind of like prayer 3-point shots. And that's been something that I think this team could still get better at. It's just half court creation, running more set plays. But I mean, it's still very early in the season in November. I know last season, like around February, March, the ball was moving quite a bit. They set a record for like 30 plus assists in 10 consecutive games last season. Um, and it's something that I think they will continue to work on, right? They'll continue to work on their half court sets. They'll continue to work on not rushing shots, especially, shooting a ball with like 18 to 17 seconds in the shot clock isn't good process. And teams are guarding Cade a little bit more aggressively this year. Would not surprise me if you see more teams blitz him the way that other teams have, like the Celtics did tonight. I have a question from Go Pistons. Asar looked passive on offense tonight. Lots of standing still. Yeah, that's something that like I'd like to see him do a little bit more is be more aggressive to me. I think that what we saw last year with the SAR is when he had great games, he had the ball in his hands a little bit more, kind of like the point of SAR thing, right? They experimented with point of SAR, and I thought it was actually really creative by the Pistons coaching staff to let him kind of get those secondary ball handler reps. But we haven't really seen point of SAR as much. And I don't know if that's by design by JB, but I'd like to see him be more aggressive, taking the ball to the basket a little bit more, going up strong. I'd like to see him shoot a little bit more too. I know he did make that buzzer beater 3-pointer in the second quarter, but I know Jaden Ivey found him for a corner three. He hesitated, tried to put the ball on the floor and do something with it. It clanked the rim. I'd like to see him be a little bit more aggressive as well. Could he be passive from the rolled ankle on Tyrese Maxey that he had a couple weeks ago? Maybe, not really sure, but I think Asar kind of being like that third option of giving you a good 12 to 14 points a night is something that the Pistons do need right now, in my opinion, anyways. Red Baron, what do you think JB's will do with the lineup against the Magic? I think he'll probably have the same starters. Like it's still going to be Cade, Duncan, Asar, Tobias, Duran. In terms of like the bench rotation, he might just try to do 12 deep again. Probably see Danis get a little bit, Karras, Jaden Ivey, Isaiah Stewart. It's just a thing where I don't think you can keep going 12 deep. I get his sentiment, which I agree with. He said, I have to reward the players that are playing hard. But it gets to a point where it's just like you kind of have to get it down a little bit. If you want to do 11, 10, sure. But 12 to 13 is a little bit madness. It's kind of 2K-ish almost, if you know what I mean. If you guys do play NBA 2K and you're blowing someone out, you kind of give like the bench guys a little bit of a run there. But I mean, this is real life basketball. I think a 10-man rotation is more than sufficient with the talent that we have. It's just he's got to make decisions on what he wants to do and who's going to get those minutes and who isn't. Larry says we need to start guarding the 3-point line. I agree. That's something that this team has struggled with a lot. And it's not just this season. It was last season too. This team struggles a lot to close out on the perimeter. And I think the main reason why, from my vantage point, when I'm looking at these games, watching these games, is JB philosophy with his bigs is to, kind of clog the paint. Like we see them get defensive 3-second violations all the time. The bigs are in the paint because they're trying to protect the rim, right? They'll take the 3-second violation all day. It's up to the guards and the wings to do a better job of running these players off the 3-point line, right? Like we all know Boston likes to shoot a lot of threes. We all know that Peyton Pritchard and Derek White and Jaylen Brown, they love shooting 3-pointers. And, as the game went on, you started seeing the Pistons be just so afraid of them shooting threes that they're just right on that 3-point line. But there were a couple of plays that kind of fell apart where, you got 4 or 5 guys on the perimeter and you got Jordan Walsh wide open for a basket. That was one of the plays. It's just a thing of getting better at closing out on 3-point shots and not fouling either. I think that's another thing that maybe goes a little bit unnoticed is like when we do try to close out on 3-point shooters, Oftentimes we are following 3-point shooters when all we have to do is really put a hand up. And obviously that comes with more practice. That comes with paying attention to those little details that this coaching staff always talks about. Kind of focusing in on the little stuff, the little details like that. But again, I think they'll get better as the season does go on. Do you think we are playing Duncan and Karras too much, especially with the emergence of Danis? I get the reason why JB plays Duncan as much as he does, because you want a floor spacer out there with Cade Cunningham, right? With Karras, his role is so unique because in certain situations he's the backup point guard, right? In other situations tonight, he was playing more off ball. Do I think that JB is playing them too much? I think it just depends on what matchup you have and what you're trying to do. I think with Danis can definitely be that backup point guard that this team needs. It's just a situation right now where he's playing Cade so many minutes that like Danis played 8, Cade played 36, right? I'd like to get Cade's minutes down a little bit if you could, but I get when you're in close games, you're trying to ride on your stars much as possible. I'd like to get Cade's minutes like around 32, 33 would be ideal. Kind of giving, Danis more of an opportunity, maybe Ivy more of an opportunity, or maybe even Karras. I'm not really sure. I don't really think there's a solidified role right now for backup point guard. They have a lot of guys that do facilitate, a lot of guys that take those lead primary ball handling duties when Cade is sitting on the bench. But I think it's just more of a question for JB Bickerstaff. I'm not really sure, just my opinion. I think JB is always going to lean with Karras and Duncan because they're veterans. I just don't really think that Danis is going to get the same run that he got during the injuries. I think the reason why he got 30 minutes, 20 minutes is because we were severely injured. Jaden Ivey was still rehabbing from his knee. Karras was kind of day-to-day. He was on a minute restriction as well. So I think that's why you saw Danis get so much opportunities. I think he still will get opportunities. I just don't really think it's going to be as much as he got, during that 1 week when he was averaging 20 points a game. I just don't see it that way. I'll get into a couple more comments and questions with you guys. I do see you are dropping a couple. Got one from Ranger. I'll be honest, if we ran the lineup of Cade, Duncan, Asar, Stu, Duran all game, it would have worked. It would have worked good a bit. Okay, so basically saying, take Tobias out of the starting lineup and have just Stu with the 4. And I see this comment quite a bit, and we can kind of transition into it. I'd like to see Tobias come off the bench. I just don't know if it's going to be this year. It's the final year of his deal. Don't know if he is going to be returning. I don't even know if he'll be here past the trading deadline, the way, all these trade rumors are just, keep heating up like crazy, right? But I think Stu eventually could be your power forward of the future. I think right now the role that JB has for him is being that backup center off the bench is good for him. Now, we did see the 2 big lineup, work quite a bit, worked against Memphis, worked against teams like that. But I think nights like tonight, I don't know if it works just because Boston is smaller and they were really looking to run in transition. I don't really know if a 2 big lineup like tonight would work. It might work against like bigger teams. But I think where Stu is at right now is a pretty good role. I could understand why fans want that 2 big lineup. But I just don't really see it as an everyday lineup. Do a couple more comments and questions with you guys. Wes Weaver says they need another guy who can handle the ball or score. It's clearly the main issue. Yeah, and I think they're trying to just find that guy right now on the fly. That's why you've seen Karras have, 24 minutes tonight. It's supposed to be Jaden Ivey. it was Jaden Ivey last year. He was staggered with Cade Cunningham, right? I still think that could be Jaden Ivey, is kind of just someone that can handle the ball, that can score. Even though he didn't have that many assists tonight, you guys can go back and watch the game. There were some passes that he made that were just excellent reads by him. It just his teammates didn't really shoot the ball, or they tried to put the ball on the floor. It could be Jaden Ivey. It could be Karis LeVert. They just don't really have that right now, and I think they're just kind of trying to figure out who could be that secondary, ball handler, or who could be that guy off the bench to kind of ignite the offense right now. I do see a question about Beasley. If Beasley is cleared to play at any point this season, could that be a sneaky signing the Pistons need to put them over the top? I don't really know with the Beasley situation. Obviously, he's still under investigation. He's been under investigation since July. We're going into December. I don't know how long this is going to linger. I know Chauncey Billups and all those guys went to court this week with their case. Obviously, Beasley's case isn't even remotely, I guess, the same. It's not the same type of investigation. It's different people. But I don't know. You don't have an open roster spot. You'd have to cut someone or trade someone. Obviously, there is interest from the Pistons side, but they said, we'll just reach out to you whenever you do get cleared. I mean, if he does get cleared hypothetically, yeah, I mean, he could help you out a lot. He could definitely spread the floor. I mean, this is a team right now that is not the same from the perimeter as it was last year. I mean, you don't have Tim Hardaway Jr. You don't have Malik Beasley out there. They accounted for, I believe, over 500 threes last year. They were a very big piece of your team, right? But I honestly think that whatever does happen with him, I'm sure that the Pistons will reach out to him if he does get cleared. I'm just not really sure how that whole investigation is going with him. But, I mean, we've kind of been under the same opinion throughout this whole investigation. If he gets cleared and the Pistons want to sign him, I'm good with it. But for now, I mean, we just kind of have to focus on the players that we do have. So, got a comment from Camille. Ugly loss, but we can learn from this. Don't need to overreact. We lost this one because of the magnet ball in some rotations. We didn't lose because of lack of effort. I agree. I mean, making 23s in the game is definitely hard to overcome. I think the rotations are going to get cleaned up. I don't really think you're going to be playing 12 guys throughout the season. You're just not. I honestly think that JB will kind of get it down to like around a 10-man rotation like we saw last season. I don't know who those 10 guys are going to be. But I think there's a lot to take away with this winning streak and even this game tonight. Like, I don't really think that it was an effort thing. I think it was more of not hitting shots. Cade had 42, but you could tell he was very winded. He was very gassed out there. But I think that there are more opportunities, especially with the two Florida teams this week in Orlando, who's playing much better basketball. And then you have Miami, who's been red hot. They have a brand new offense. They're a top seeded team in the East. So you have an opportunity to play two Eastern Conference teams that are playing really good basketball. And it's a good test for you. So I'm not really overreacting. I see some people overreacting on the timeline. I'm sure you do as well, Camille. But it's just a situation where, take these one game at a time. I mean, we're not even in December yet, November 26th, as we are recording this podcast. And I think there's a lot to, have positives with this team. And there's also some negatives where they can clean some stuff up and get better and play some of their best basketball come the playoffs. I'm going to do one more question and then we'll wrap this podcast up because see you guys Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday. So doing 2 post-game shows, and then we're doing a longer form podcast with Zarek on the weekend. But any word on Sasser? He's actually useful at times and would have been great guarding small guards. So Sasser is still recovering from a hip impingement. He had a setback. Um, he's going to get reevaluated, and I think they said like 4 weeks. So we'll probably get an evaluation with him like around December-ish. Don't really know if he's going to be coming back in 25. We might not see Sasser until 2026 in the new year. Hip impingements can be very painful. If you guys have never had one, it's very difficult to even walk with a hip impingement. But he's another player that I think, another guard. I don't even know if you would crack the rotation with all the guards that this team has right now. But he's a player that can put the ball on the floor. He can guard, but Danis might have taken his spot personally. He really could have. I don't even know like where Sasser would fit in the rotation. I know Go Pistons. Ford just said that as well. Like I don't even know. Like that's a great question. I think the Danis actually took a spot personally just in the rotation if I did have to guess. But I'm gonna wrap this podcast up, you guys. I do appreciate all 30 of you in here in a loss. We're gonna be doing 2 more post game podcasts. One right after the Orlando Magic in season tournament game, and then another one against the Miami Heat the end the week with the games, and then we'll be doing a longer form one with Zarek on Sunday, kind of talking about just the Pistons news of the week, all these trade rumors, kind of go a little bit more in depth with that. Rankings, seen a whole lot of rankings, but hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Have a happy Thanksgiving to you guys. Hope you enjoy it. Eat some good food. Watch the Lions. Hopefully they beat the Packers. Shout out to Frank Ragnow for unretiring. Like that was not on my bingo book. I saw that today. I was like, wow, that's great. Happy for Lions fans. Happy for the city of Detroit. But hope you guys enjoy your Thanksgiving. Appreciate each and every one of you. Have a good night. And as always, go Pistons. Peace.